I remember giving the crackhead the money and just running back in the house. I didn't even take the money, and my cousin was like, yo, where the money at? I'm like, yo, I didn't have time to take the money. I was scared. I was scared to be selling drugs, quite honestly. You know, I didn't like it. I didn't like the feeling. You know, it just was not for me. It was that simple. I knew right then and there I was not going to be a drug dealer.
Okay, that was a clip from the new Showtime documentary Quiet Storm, premieres Friday night. Metta World Peace. Welcome back to Undisputed.
Thanks for
Welcome.
So good to have you. You know, I watched the documentary, and it's pretty powerful. And I can imagine going into it and just retelling your story in that way. Why was it important to you, and why did you want to tell your story, make this documentary?
Well, originally I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to, like, revisit those times, and you know, it was kind of emotional, and Johnny Sweet said, let's do it, people gonna like it. I'm like, why do people want to hear about me? Like, I'm not even relevant, I don't need to do a doc, but we did it, you know, and I mean, they just turned it out, and I cried like 3 times during the doc. I'm like, this is way too much for me. You know, it's crazy, but it's good, yeah.
So I also watched it start to finish last night, and the reason I finished is that I couldn't stop watching it. And I promise you, if you start, what is it, Friday night?
Yes.
10 o'clock,
10 p.m.
10 Eastern on Showtime.
Showtime.
If you start, you won't be able to stop because it's a compelling story with a happy ending. And I hope you think it was a happy ending because that's how it played to me.
Yeah, it was just crazy, like, having a career like I did and not being in it mentally. And you can see it, like, wow, I really wasn't engaged in the game. And
So,
I really wish I was.
My
That's why
takeaway from the whole thing, and by the way, you grew up in Queensbridge, and it's I didn't know this, it's the largest housing project in North America. It's 6 blocks. You're 4108 10th Street, right in the middle of it. But from the start, your greatest strength was also your biggest weakness, and it was your temper. Because when you fueled your anger, you were. I remember when I was on the show Cold Pizza on ESPN in 03, 04, I was making a case that you had emerged as an MVP candidate that year. That's the year you won Defensive Player of the Year. And you could be, when you chose to be, because you were very unselfish, you could be unstoppable on offense. But lockdown defender, like Kobe said, I'm not sure there's ever been a better one. When you were angry with Paul Pierce, whoever it was, you would destroy people, but it also would turn around, and your trigger was your fuse was so short. Whew, then we got Malice in the Palace.
Just very unprofessional, dysfunctional, you know, and then depressed, you know, so many different things. I remember when I was like 22, I would be thinking like 4 different things. I definitely had so much going on in my head, so much frustration. Well, was not happy.
There's a lot in that.
There was a lot in there when I was younger, you know, luckily. And but I was strong enough to identify it and then get help and get help and get help.
Well, you did. And by the way, just quick point of order, I did not know this, but your first year, you were the 15th overall pick in the first round of the draft, and you go to the Bulls in Chicago, Michael Jordan's city, and you get a job part-time at Circuit City because you didn't trust it. You were still so insecure about, can I really do this? I need a second job, right?
I mean, I definitely wanted a second, you know, I wanted the discount. I never felt, you know, like, I never wanted to go back. So I'm always like trying to, and I didn't want to get in trouble, so I wanted to stay active. I wanted to do some positive things because once I have time, then I get in trouble.
Yeah.
You reached out. Why was it so important for you to make amends with the guy that actually threw the beer that started the Malice in the Palace?
It was actually a Diet Coke.
So why was it so important for you to close that chapter in your life?
I mean, that was a huge part of my life where one guy, I had an incident or a problem with one guy, and it was huge. And back home, when you have a problem with someone, it usually ends like in somebody getting hurt, somebody getting shot. And I'm like, I don't want my life to be like that. I don't want to hold grudges. It was just a problem. I had a problem with one man, and it's over, fight's over, and I'm cool. Now I gotta make amends with, you know, my teammates and different things like that. But I felt like the John Green one was very important to me.
Just for those who've forgotten, it was November 19, 2004, and there's 20 seconds left in a game, and it's early in the year, and you had gone to war, quote unquote, with those guys the year before and lost in 6 games of one of the most physical playoff series probably in the history of this league. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, the score was 71, like 67, and it was all defense.
I think it was 69-65 was the final
It
score.
could have been,
I believe it was.
Yeah, it could have been.
So now this is the first time you're meeting, and you go to their place, and you kick their behinds, and it's 20 seconds left, and Ben Wallace, you get into it, you fouled him, and then he starts throwing things at you. And again, I'm on your side with this because he's allowed. Ben Wallace is throwing, he's got bands all over him. He's throwing everything on his body at you, and they're not throwing him out. They're not even giving him techs. So you did what your psychiatrist had advised, just lay down. Lay down. What's the closest place? It's the scorer's table, okay? Which probably didn't sit well with the people in the stands.
Yeah.
Scorer's
To be
table.
winning, and they thinking I'm
And then the guy who you apologized or you made amends with, John Green, he talked in the doc. He was great in the documentary.
He's great.
Yeah. He said, I got a Diet Coke, and I think, well, I'm going to just throw it up in the air. He underhanded it, and I think it was the luckiest shot
It was a
this
bet.
side of that
It was a
guy.
$50 bet.
Yeah. Oh, the guy bet with
The guy
you, right.
bet that I could hit you. He's like, I can do it. He's like, oh, wow. And when the guy said, oh, wow, I owe you $50, you did it. And when I seen his hand, I'm like,
So he did it.
Yeah.
He thought he reached.
I thought he hit me with the cup.
And John Green didn't even know the kid next to him, and so you go up to lay down the law to that kid, right?
Yeah,
And you said in the documentary, I didn't want to kill him. I just wanted to kind of put my hands around him and say, you're not going to get away with that because in Queensbridge, you can't get away with that. That's neighborhood. That's not anger. That's neighborhood. Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say.
Yeah.
I feel like nobody would let that happen. I feel like you just can't go around doing that. You see people getting bullied. I don't believe in people should be getting bullied. I used to be bullied when I was younger at one point in time. So it's like you get tired of that after a while, and then it stays with you.
I can't
if
imagine.
you never addressed it.
How would anybody ever bully you?
When you're a young kid, you get
I don't
bullied.
know. Do you?
But that was your way, but you found a way. It says, I'm not going to get bullied. I'm not going to take this anymore.
Yeah.
And you toughened yourself up. You grew into if there's going to be some bullying going on, I'm going to do it.
You knew who toughened him up was Big Ron, your dad. He took you out and he beat you up on the basketball court, right?
Yeah, he didn't let me get in trouble. I would get spankings when I did anything wrong. Took me on the court and would just it would be brutal games out there with my dad.
So he wasn't letting you win, huh?
No. He would not let me. He's built like you, man. Just hitting me and pushing me. And
when you say that was the best thing that could have happened to you, right?
Yeah, it was weird because him and my mom always was fighting.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, he was in my life. Like, I've seen him every day. When they separated, I seen my dad every day. I can't remember my dad, never seen my dad.
Right.
So I'm like, I have a little conflict here. Yeah.
So to finish the Malice at the Palace, then you go back on the floor and another fan comes right at you, and you say in the doc that if there hadn't been beer on the floor and you could have gotten your feet underneath you, that you were slipping, you might have killed that guy.
Yeah, and Jermaine actually got him, but it was really good for him because I was slipping, so I was about to throw the punch, and then I felt like my foot
go out from under you.
So I had to just throw like a little soft leg because I didn't want to give too much, and I slipped, and this guy starts getting all over me. So, but that was, and he tried to sue us, which was kind of crazy. But it was like a movie in there. Probably better than Game of Thrones.
And then you go in the locker room and you had the infamous line to Steven Jackson. You think we're going to get in trouble for this? And our man Steven Jackson just went, are we going to get, no, we're all going to get, we're going to be lucky to have a job. Right? Okay? And then Jermaine is still upset with you for starting it, and he wants to come at you in the locker room.
Jermaine was mad at me, but then he got in a problem with Coach Carla. I think Jermaine was conflicted at that time. Jermaine's just one of the greatest teammates. He always would reach out to me. I never would take him up for lunch or dinner. I was just I wasn't secure in myself at that time. Nobody really knew what I was going through at that time. So I wasn't it seemed like I wasn't a good teammate. I played team basketball on the court.
Right.
You did.
I executed everything.
Yep.
But just go to lunch. Just call you on the phone. How you doing? I never was engaging like that.
Yeah, and Jermaine's quote I wrote down last night was, nobody understood Ron, and I don't think he wanted to be understood at that point.
I was trying to escape I was always trying to escape something, like some memory or some part of their life or what happened yesterday. I wasn't able to say, oh, it'll be okay today.
Was
a
it,
little
was it
argument.
a